another parts factory installation tutorial video. Today I've decided to go with a voiceover as I'm sick and tired of the wind in the background of all my videos, so just ignore that. What we're going to be doing today is installing an overflow bottle into a D40 Nissan Navara. Now in the video I explained that this bottle fits all the three different engine types, but do double check that just before purchasing. I go on to explain about the quality of the overflow bottle that we sell and the poor quality of the overflow bottle that Nissan did sell when this car was released. They do prematurely break down and perish. Holes happen inside or on the outside of the bottle, and as these motors are notorious for head gasket issues, the combination of the two usually causes premature engine failure after 6 to 7 years of use. So if your motor has recently been repaired, even if your bottle isn't currently leaking, I would always suggest having a good quality bottle installed in your D40 just to maintain your Nissan's full functionality. You don't want to be seizing a motor due to simple leak in an overflow bottle. Now this product is available on our website for $88.30. It's very, very high quality. What else? The website's URL is www.partsfactoryoz.com.au. Now before we get started, I just wanted to say that if you are interested in these types of videos, I would appreciate you if you could like and subscribe to our channel. It does help majorly, and when the public like and subscribe, it just means that there's obvious interest in tutorial videos. I do have access to over 1,000 cars and they're always coming in, so I try and do tutorials as I get the cars and not necessarily the parts. So if your part isn't out yet, unfortunately there's nothing I can do about that. Right, here I show you the condition or the quality of our bottles. They are exact replicas of the original, but they are made out of different materials, different processes, etc., etc. Alright, let's begin the fit. Now you can see the overflow bottles squished up against that guard in the corner. It's not common that happens with most cars, but on the Nissan, that's how they've chosen to do it. We're going to need a pair of pliers, 10mm socket on an electric wrench or rattle gun, anything like that. You need a 10mm long and a 10mm short. First step is to remove your battery clamp. You don't have to pull the bolts all the way off, just pull them up a little bit because the bottom of the battery clamp is like a hook. Once you loosen them, the hook can actually just come out. You'll see what I mean in a sec. You can just rotate that hook and that whole battery clamp just comes out like that. It's really convenient, stops you losing the nut and the large battery clamp bolt. Place it out of the way. Next step will be to remove our battery clamps. The terminal clamps. I'm going to remove the negative one first. This one had an aftermarket one, so it was actually quite difficult to get off, but genuine ones are fairly easy. You'll wiggle it like that, and you can kind of pull it up on the terminal nice and slow. Tuck it out of the way. The positive one's nice and easy, it's a genuine one, so undo that. Should just be able to lift it off. That one can't really be tucked far, but should be fine. Pull your battery out of your car. Right, now we're going to actually remove the washer bottle filler spout just out of the side of the guard. It does mount to the overflow bottle, so it does have to come out. It's fairly easy. You just grab that yellow cap and kind of wrap your hand around it and just pull up. There's a little grommet there that'll just pop out like that, as you can see I demonstrate there. Next step is first it looks like I'm going to unbolt the overflow bottle from the guard. Chuck your bolts out of the way. There's two 10mm bolts on the top. I give it a wobble to see how many more bolts there is, and I realize there's actually a bolt down the bottom. Then I what I do is I put a shorter 10mm on just to get that bottom bolt. Can't be done with a long 10mm. In this case, I actually leave the 10mm bolt down there just so I don't drop it trying to squeeze it on the way up. And I then go on to moving the fuse box. The next step is actually to undo the top pipe. There's a hose clamp near where I'm working on currently, but what I did first is there's a little grey mount that you can see I'm holding just there, and it kind of just presses up from underneath the car, or underneath the guard, into the guard. What I've done is I've undone that first, and then you can kind of wiggle that bottle out a bit. That means that I can then get to the hose clamp to pull that top pipe off. At this point I realized that it's not possible to get the bottom pipe without removing the fuse box, as I had already kind of known. So what I decide to do now is remove that fuse box out of the way. It actually ends up being quite easy. I put my bolts out of the way. I realize I'm going to need to use my pliers soon. I don't want the bolts falling across the ground. There's two 10mm bolts. The second one requires a long 10mm socket. There you go. Move that out of the way. I then realized that the ECU plugs also have to be moved, just in order to get into there. I do walk around and show you how to do that in a second. Right, to get these plugs off, you'll see I'm putting my thumb on a little rotating tab. Now, it starts from the bottom and it comes upwards, and as you bring that little tab up, it actually will pull that plug out of the ECU. These are watertight little setup. They're quite solid. It does require a bit of force. There you go. There it is there. Tuck that out of the way. A couple cobwebs in there, but you can see that hose clamp down the bottom. That's actually what we're going for. Right. Now, just trying to work out what we're doing here. Yes, we're going to be undoing that bottom pipe. You can get in there and all the way down to the hose clamp now with these pliers. Squeeze that hose clamp, wiggle it a bit, and then move it back along the pipe. Should now be able to pull the overflow bottle out of the guard, but as I continue going here, I realize that it's quite well jammed in there and there is a procedure to removing it. I demonstrate the procedure in a second. I decided to get this top pipe off first, and now that we can actually move the bottle, it became a little bit easier. Now, what I've done is I've moved that hose clamp out of the way. I put my pliers like that, give it a twist, that kind of loosens it off the plastic, and you tuck it out of the way like that. Spot on. Now I continue to try and squeeze this out, and if you have a look at the back, kind of where my right hand is now, there's a top mount, and it kind of becomes squished up against the guard as you roll it out. That's what stops it from coming out with ease. You can see that how it's quite solid there, but if you see I took it to the left, pushed it forward, and then it pops out, which is lovely. I take that bottom pipe off after, just because it requires a bit of twisting, and there's the bottle there. Just here I show the difference between the two bottles and their current states. Ours are brand new, straight out of the mold, delivered to your door. Now it's time to put our new bottle back in the car. There is a little strategy to get this in. You want to put the lower half of the bottle in first. Place your pipe on. You can leave the hose clamp, but make sure the hose clamp is facing upwards so that it's easy to get on, like so. And we want to pick up the bottle, and you see how I demonstrate, it kind of has to press down first, rotate to the left, and then squeeze in. I'll demonstrate that here now. Right, so I end up getting the bottle in about 20 seconds. A little difficult. The next step would then be to put our top pipe back on. Nice and easy. You want to squeeze it on. Make sure the hose clamp's facing the direction you can get in there with your pliers. The hose clamp should be flush against the bottle. You don't want to have it on an angle, it won't seal properly. And we put our little grey tab back up into the guard of the car. Next step would be to put our bottom bolt back in. And I continue to do the other two bolts. We have the one on the right and the one on the left. I then tighten the 3 bolts down with the rattle gun. That's 1, 2, and the third. Now these are not to be too tight, otherwise you will crack the plastic. And the next step is to reassemble the ECU plugs. It's very important these plugs are done properly, not rushed. If you were to bend any of the pins on the receiving side of the ECU, you would find that your car would not start. Now I'm not saying that it's an easy thing to do, but it's not impossible. It's the delicate part of the job. As you press the plugs in, continue to apply pressure and re-clip that bit there as you apply pressure. The opposite of how we did it at the beginning. See that? Press it in and re-click that. There it is there. It's 2 plugs. Don't forget to do both of them. Fuse box gets placed back into position. Remember your 2 bolts. These can go pretty tight, not too tight. We're going to tighten these bolts up with your rattle gun. 1, second one here. The next step would then be to put our window washer bottle fluid spout back into place. Just have a quick look down into the guard and you'll see the hole where it goes into the bottle. And then all it is that black pressure clip pushes back into your overflow bottle. Very, very straightforward. Now it's time to put our big battery back in. Remember the positives on the right side, on the left side. And the negative is on the right side. Put them on first. Next step would be to tighten the terminals. Try and tighten the terminals before putting your battery clamp back on. So you can kind of lift it up like that if you're using an electric wrench. Put the lifting handle back down. Dump your battery clamp back on top of the battery. There is 2 holes at on each side of the battery onto the battery box. The hooks of the battery clamp go into the battery box. Tighten it snug, and you want to tap the battery clamp into the very center and then continue to tighten it. Right, the job was complete. It's fairly straightforward. It took me about 15 minutes. Now, as I said at the beginning of the video, this bottle is available on our website at www.partsfactoryoz.com.au. If you did like this video and you'd like to see further videos like this one, do make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel. it does help me gauge the interest in videos such as this. And just remember, it also will allow us to get more car parts in for cheap, and I'll make it easier for people in the public to do mechanical repairs on their vehicles themselves. Now these bottles I just wanted to demonstrate here, this bottle is actually already leaking around the seal. I didn't even know. I was only replacing it simply for this video, but yeah, the customer's let me do it on his car, and I'm glad I have, because I probably saved his engine. Other than that, guys, my name's Lucas Drabs, and thanks for coming and watching another Parts Factory installation tutorial video. I'll catch you next time. Bye.